We're back. We messed up big time last time. I forgot to hit the mute button and I was talking off nobody's ear because nobody could hear me. But here we are back. We're talking the Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier trilogy. Um, it's 1-1. Poirier looked amazing in this last fight. He's changed so much since the first time they fought. So there's a big time span between that, and now we're talking about months time frame where Conor has to make a lot of changes in his game quick. And he's the type of guy that could do that. And, he seems motivated again for this. I know he isolated himself in California. He moved his camp over there, left his family. And I think that's good for him. I honestly think we need mean Conor. We need crazy Conor. We need proper 12 Conor. We need Conor throwing monster drinks at the press conferences. That's the guy who rose to the occasion every time on the come up. And I miss that guy. Sometimes I go back and I watch his old press conferences and it was just nothing like that guy's rise. The energy that he had and the entertainment that he brought to the dais. But, I think we're going to see that guy, a little bit of that guy, at least in this next press conference and the lead up to this fight. He's already kind of taking things that Poirier says personal, and he's kind of, giving him that chip on his shoulder to come and shut him up. And I think Conor, he wants to come back and make a statement and show like he's still here. He still has that fire and he could still be a champion and put Poirier away. He's going to have to make adjustments. I mean, that calf kick is something that you can't take that kick, you got to figure out movement and stance and different ways to avoid that. And it's going to be tough because you land one or two of those and Poirier is very good at closing the distance. It's going to change the whole outlook of the rest of the fight. And you got a 5-round fight. Conor, a lot of people are saying, the money and it's unmotivated Conor, and that's why this and this is why that. And, there's always a lot of excuses for everyone to look at. But, he's the one getting in there. He's the one training. He's got his mindset and he's got to be honest with himself. Does he even want to do this? I obviously doesn't need any more money, so you got to respect that he's willing to fight Poirier again after such a brutal loss. And it's 1-1. So this is the fight right here. Who's going to walk away with the true W? The winner of this one goes up 2-1. You got to imagine Conor always has that Nate Diaz fight in his back pocket. But, in that last fight with Poirier, I thought that he looked really good in his boxing early on in the first round. I don't think we saw a Conor that wasn't prepared. I don't think we saw a Conor that wasn't there to win. I understand that he had a lot of time off and that could play a factor, but he looked fresh. He looked like he was aggressive early on. His boxing looked fast, crisp, accurate. I think Poirier just realized he took a couple of left hands and he was still there. And he was like, oh, I could take these shots right now at 55. This is different. I'm able to still move forward, and I'm able to put it on him now after taking a couple of hard shots and see how he could take my hard shots, because we didn't see that in the first fight. We didn't even see Poirier land in the first fight. He didn't even get a chance to. But in the second fight, he took a couple of left hands, a couple of hard shots, and was right there in his face still. And that could demoralize you, when you think, oh, I'm going to land this left hand and this guy's going down, and then you land it and he's looking right at you. That makes you question a little bit. And then he starts landing those leg kicks, those calf kicks, and he kept going to it over and over. He saw in Conor's eyes, like, you don't like that. I'm landing that and that's affecting you, and I'm going to keep up with that. It's going to be interesting, man. I mean, Conor is a guy that I think he obsesses over things, and I think he's going to be able to make the proper adjustments, at least to try to negate that to some extent. I just think Poirier will probably get to the leg at some point again. I think maybe Conor is going to try to, take over some leg kicks, some calf kicks early. You never know. He might try to set the tone with that same move. But Wonder Boy had an interesting point. Maybe he needs to get back to that karate stance, that wider stance where he kind of switches stance. And there was talks about him getting back with Ito Portal, the movement guy. And I know there was big jokes about that. And it kind of was funny with Nate Diaz, the whole touch butt thing. But maybe that was something that was helping him with his movement and kind of finding his range in these fights and landing that left hand a little bit sharper, a little bit crisper. If you guys do have any questions, you can post them. I put it so that they will come up on the live chat. So I will get to those questions too if you have any for me. But yeah, I'm torn between this one because I just think Poirier is just in his prime, and he did say that one thing that stood out to me, and he said, "You can't teach heart, and I have it." He knows that when push comes to shove, if they're both exchanging and the fight gets to to bloom and blossom into the third, fourth round, that it's trouble for anybody he fights. And that's true, man. We've seen him against Gaethje, against Eddie Alvarez. The guy is a nightmare to fight as the fight goes on and things get rough. He's the type of guy that he thrives in those situations. We don't really know, we know that he thrives more so than Conor in those situations. Yes, Conor's had those long fights with Nate Diaz. Well, the second fight was 5 rounds and he looked great. He was able to get a second wind, but we still saw him kind of fade, kind of gas. And I just think Poirier does not have that in him. He will never gas, and he won't fade, and he won't quit. So that kind of has me leaning towards Poirier again. I just think now that he knows he could take those left hands, and he did, he's just, he's going to bring the same kind of game plan, the same kind of confidence. And man, you got to give props to Poirier. I know he was potentially going to get the title fight against Oliveira, but he chose the money option, and who wouldn't, right? I mean, you're going to fight Conor right now for a trilogy, settle the score, and then potentially beat him and then get the title shot. So, he didn't have to take it right away, So, yeah, I mean, I can see Poirier finishing it late. I think the fight will go a little bit longer because I think Conor will make some kind of adjustments. I think maybe he won't start as fast with the boxing, but that could be a downfall too, because you really don't want to give Poirier a chance to set up and get into a rhythm. That's probably the worst case scenario. But Conor said that thing about, the first ones to shoot is a bitch or whatever. And then Poirier said, well, the first one to get taken down is a bitch or whatever they said. But like, it's kind of funny, that back and forth, because it is true. It's mixed martial arts. Like, I don't really understand that myself. Like, why do you talk down about a part of the martial arts? Like, wrestling and jiu-jitsu are part of MMA. You're in an MMA fight. So how could you downplay any of the martial arts if that's what you're partaking in, and you happen to not be able to handle one of those avenues in a mixed martial arts fight? That's all on you. That has nothing to do with this guy's a bitch or this guy's not trying to fight. Like, yeah, you're in the fight business. It's a fight, but it's also part of the fight. I mean, if you get in a street fight and you just want to box, and this guy happens to be a wrestler and takes you down and starts mauling you on the ground, I mean, didn't you lose the street fight? So, that's a real fight to me. So I don't understand. Yeah, there's rules, there's regulations. Like, if you want to box, just box, right? It's mixed martial arts. You got to be able to get up. You got to be able to take guys down. You got to be able to scramble, hunt for submissions, all that stuff. So I think that's all just kind of mind games, and I think Conor's trying to get in Poirier's head again a little bit, because he remembers that first fight, and he remembers that's how it started. It started with him being able to get into Poirier's head a little bit. The only thing is, Poirier's a changed man. He's disciplined, he's matured, he's humble. I don't think that's possible at this point. I mean, maybe Conor comes and he goes crazy at the press conference and something happens. I don't know, but I hope we see that, Conor, honestly. How come the questions aren't going in the chat? Oh, I see. Here we go. Give him a little highlight. Yeah, I agree. I think this is all just mental warfare. I think Conor's playing the role that he used to. I think he knows that, going back to that vintage Conor is going to only be a benefit for him, because that fires him up. Like when he would get crazy at press conferences, trash talking, like yes, it was entertainment, but I feel like he felt that way. Like, he really was like hyping it up and getting crazy about the fight. And when you do that, like, you have to perform, like, you have to kind of back up your words. So it does put a little bit of this pressure on you. So yeah, I agree for sure. There's definitely some mental warfare going on. How's the audio, by the way, guys? I hope I'm kicking good here, because business is booming and we're back. We've been gone for a while, and this is the new crib. We got the new setup here. I'll probably put some more art on the walls. We'll get some more stuff in the background, but otherwise, way better setup than the last one. Um, Thank you guys, by the way. Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. Now I know we're all set. We're all good. Yeah, I do. I think Dustin Poirier is going to kind of come with the same energy. I don't think he's going to, give away that he's going for that right away. I think that he'll set it up correctly, feints, movement, closing the distance, setting it up with his boxing. But it all starts there. If Poirier can get inside and he switches stances, he covers distance really well. He will throw something out there that will kind of just disguise the leg kick, and the leg kick will come right after that punch. And that's why it's so hard to check and see these kicks, because you're in your stance and you're trying to defend punches to the face, which entails, you covering and wing blocking and slipping a certain way. And that offset of balance is what leaves that leg available. As soon as that kick comes right behind the punch, there's really no time. It's a split second to even be able to lift your leg or to move it out of the way. And that's why it works so well. And if you know how to set it up right, it really is like almost impossible to check or deal with it. But you have to just be on your P's and Q's with your movement. And at least maybe, for me, I think a huge potential defense to the calf kick is to almost leave your front leg angled off like this. Almost where your kneecap and your shin are pointed slightly outward, so that if they try to wrap around and hit that leg, they're probably going to go shin to shin. Now, that sucks anyways, but at least it's better than them hitting that nerve or that muscle on the side of the calf. And I kind of utilized that in one of my fights, because I took that away from Max Holloway when he fought Jose Aldo in that. Well, I think it was the second fight. If you really pay attention, he almost goes into his power the majority of the fight. He's like kind of moving into Aldo's right hand, I think for a different reason. But Aldo has that huge leg kick we all knew about, those brutal leg kicks he took Faber out with. And I feel like the way Holloway was standing, he kind of had his kneecap angled towards that way that he was moving, so that if Aldo ripped that kick, it would potentially go right into his knee and it would be checked instantaneously. And I really like the idea of that. If you can figure out a way to stand like that and feel good, it's also very it leaves it an availability for slipping and ripping as well. So you're kind of angled here and you're kind of leading the guy on to think that power hand is there. Throw that right hand, I'm going to make you miss and come back with a right hand. And there was I saw a lot of that with Holloway Aldo too. If you want to go back and watch that, you'll notice that Holloway was doing that. And I think that if Conor can kind of come with that same thing, the only problem is we're fighting southpaw to southpaw here. So this is it's a whole different game. When you're fighting orthodox, I guess it's the opposite, but it's kind of the same, right? So it's southpaw to southpaw. But the only thing is Poirier switches stance a lot, so you really don't know where he's coming from. That's the problem. He switches his stance. He throws deflecting punches out there to land that kick to follow through. So it's hard to gauge, but I think if Conor can kind of keep that leg outward a little bit, but also switch stance himself, he can kind of create a little bit of chaos, and it'd be a little bit harder for Poirier to find that leg. Audio is booming. That's right. Ooh, do we have more to say here? Well, here's the thing, guys. This O'Malley thing kind of fucking pisses me off, because what happens is, his opponent pulls out, and I get it. He's a bantamweight. You want to fight at bantamweight, right? So O'Malley, he's already in the peak of his camp. He's kind of already starting to cut. He's been dieting. So to him, he's thinking, I would rather stay at 135. And I get that. I respect that 100%. But he went on his podcast and he said all this stuff about, oh man, I would do 145 for sure. If any of these bantamweights can't make weight and they want to do it at 45, I'm in. Oh, it would be such a fun fight week if I could just do it at 45. Because let's be honest, none of us want to cut the weight. If you give us the option to fight a fair fight against another bantamweight, and it's on 9 days notice, which he understood, he agrees. He's like, yeah, like, fuck it. I'll do it at 145 if I have to. So I put my name in the hat. I said straight up, like, yo, I'm in 145. Let's do this. I told my manager that. But my manager said, no, they only want 135. So I said, yeah, I can't make 135 in 9 days. I'm like 159, 158 pounds. It's not happening. Like, I'm going to kill myself to make the weight, potentially not make the weight. And you're setting yourself up for failure there. So I'm like, let's do it at 145. I heard, Sean O'Malley say he was in at 145. So why wouldn't he? And then, his coach reaches out to me on Twitter and says, we picked you. You were the first pick. I swear, we wanted you. So it must be a UFC thing and a little bit of a protection thing and them kind of wanting him to stay at 135. And I think that's where it fell through, because to me, I don't get it. If he says he wants to fight me and he's down and he's saying 145 he would be cool with, and then I'm saying I'm down, yeah, let's do 145. Why isn't it happening? I don't know. But then all of a sudden, like literally an hour later, this Chris Mutino guy steps in and the fight's done deal. So I think the UFC was kind of like, listen, we're not taking 145ers. We don't want to do catch weights. We want O'Malley at 35. And then I think O'Malley's team kind of had a talk with him and said, listen, let's just stay at 135 if we can. That's the right thing to do. And I get it. I get that. I'm with that. Like, I understand. You went through all the stuff. You're at the tail end of your camp, and you want to stay at your weight class. That's fine. But don't say one thing and not really be about that, and then tell everybody, oh, these guys didn't really want it because they couldn't make 135. You know most bantamweights can't make 135 in 9 days. Like, what are you walking around at on a daily basis when your fight, I'm booked for a fight. It's August 21st, but I have like over 6-7 weeks for my fight, so I'm preparing accordingly. No bantamweight is sitting there walking around at 145 pounds, every single day of the year, ready to cut weight. It's just not doable. I hate the weight cuts in the first place. I think we should be able to fight and agree to fight close to our walk around weight. That'd be amazing. But that's kind of what happened for you guys. What do you think? Dustin hasn't finished a guillotine in the UFC yet, even though he goes for it every time. Do you think he could finish Conor with it? You're an expert with the guillotine. Well, thank you. It's the Boomer team, baby. Always jump the gilly. That's what Dustin said. I love that shit. Now, I think he said that when I got that guillotine on Ray Rodriguez. But I think Dustin can. I just think that it doesn't present itself because Conor's not a heavy grappler. He doesn't really shoot for the legs. He doesn't really put you against the cage and put his head out there on a single leg or anything like that. He's just not the type of guy to be available to guillotine, really, it would have to be in a scenario where you rocked him, like Nate Diaz did, and he shot in on him, and you go for it right away. We haven't seen Conor shoot on anybody except for that fight, so it's just a rare case. I don't think it really would present itself in this fight, but if it did, Dustin's gonna jump that shit. Yeah, man. That's about it, man. It's gonna be a good fight. I can't wait. We're gonna try to do these more often. I'm in the new location, so I'm gonna try to be more frequent with this. I will come back on here and I'll probably do my picks and break down the whole card. And that'll be just a quicker, quick picks and just, maybe some betting advice and my picks for that, and just go down the whole card, nice and easy and smooth. But thank you guys for tuning in. Hit the like, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Brian Kelleher, my Instagram, Twitter, Brian Boom 135, and we'll get in next time, baby. Boom.